Hello, dear friends. A couple words on today on American politics. It's an interesting note. Two American Democratic senators in this yet again stolen election, who both won and were both dead. One guy's name, I think, was Haley. He was 85 years old. Died beginning of October, and yet remained on the ballots. And the other woman was 93 years old, died, and won with 72% of the vote. Well, 72% of the count, whether or not actually people voted for, or what percentage of people voted for, only God knows. Oh, and the guys that were counting. Because as Stalin said, it doesn't matter who votes for whom. It only matters who counts the votes. He should have known, considering he lost the election to General Secretary of the party to Kirov, but he became the General Secretary of the party, since his people were the ones counting the votes. He got to keep things fresh in mind. The other thing to ponder for Americans in general, and I lived in America for a very long time and watched this progressively happen in the growth of the geriatric ruling class of America. I mean, these are geriatrics. For God's sakes, one guy drops dead at 85. The woman drops dead at 93. 93. Do you think she's in her right mind when she's making those decisions that are going to be fixing or rather wrecking your lives? I mean, 93, 85. Biden barely can remember his name most days. He's about 80. I mean, this isn't even my generation that are in much better health and much better cognitive health at our age, in our 40s and 50s, than they ever were. This is that generation, the one that, just because they're alive doesn't mean anything else upstairs is still working. For God's sakes. I mean, Kamala Harris at 56 is the little girl in this outfit. She's the youngin'. Woo, look at that youngin'. I mean, that's 56, and she's the youngin'. Not the median age, not the average age. If you don't know the difference between those two, I highly recommend you do a little reading what that means. Because the average American salary is in the, 70 or 60-something thousand? And the median salary, which is in the 35,000. Difference is average. You got one billionaire, and you got 1,000 people that have zero salary, and the average is everyone's a millionaire. Then you got median. So 50% above one point, 50% below the other point. So 50% of Americans make less than $30,000 or $34,000 a year. Not a rich country, considering the cost of living. Not even nearly a rich country, but that's why politicians don't like median, because that doesn't look too good. They like to have their billionaire friends whack that average right on up there, and then sell you, the peons, all kinds of BS to keep you thinking you're rich. You're not. And you're getting poor, but Biden's winning. It's amazing, It's amazing how the most unpopular president, with a Democratic Party that's whacked out of its mind, because, what you call your pronouns and whether you chop your little 6-year-old boy's nuts off is more important than whether or not you have food on your table to feed that little 6-year-old boy, whatever his pronouns will be. Mine are fucked, fuck, and fucked. That should be America's actual fuck and fucked. Democracy, yeah, okay, you're a democracy, all right. Well, Biden redefined recession. Apparently, 3/4 of negative growth is not recession. Never mind, it's actually 2/4. That's how it's always been characterized. But no, you're still not in recession. Not until Biden says so. So hell, democracy. You're still a democracy, even though Biden and the Democrats are stealing party election after party election. Okay, whatever. The most unpopular president, 75% of the population says the country's going to hell in a handbasket. And not one Democratic governor loses a seat. Almost nobody loses in the House. Very few gains for the Republicans. Of course, then you got the other side. You got McKinnon. the other GOP heavyweights that really don't want any competition. They're hand in hand with the Democrats. They don't want anybody with actual conservatives. But yeah, you're a democracy. Sure you are. Whatever you want to smoke and tell yourself to be able to sleep at night. By the way, America's the most drugged up country in the world. Something like 70% of prescription drugs for 5% of the population of the world. Yeah, you're going to have to up that some more. Maybe like to 90% of the world's prescription drugs to be able to keep that illusion going. That you're anything prosperous or anything else other than a police state. A police state where the government does whatever the hell it wants. Doesn't give a damn about your votes. Cheats, steals, like any good third world, hell, Latin American dictatorship. I got somebody to copy from. Plenty of them. Anyways, thoughts on the issue. The geriatrics, this is why we're back in Cold War II and going straight to hot war. Because the geriatrics are the ones running the show. The people that grew and lived all their lives in Cold War and liked it. These are people that loved it. And they want it back. They want the good times back. You know, you got the McCarthy era good times coming right on back. And why not? They're the ones in power. Again, Kamala Harris is the far cry youngin' of those people. You got a 93-year-old dying, running for the Senate, an 85-year-old dying, running for the Senate. For God's sakes, usually those people were somewhere sitting on a porch telling their grandkids or great-grandkids stories about how life used to be. Not trying to make decisions for those grandkids and great-grandkids and a technology base that they don't even understand. I mean, I look at my parents and how they struggle with anything technologically more advanced than the last 30 years. And America, by the way, you are so behind technologically. God almighty, go for those people who have lived abroad, or those people go to places like China or Europe. You notice that right off the bat, America is very, very technologically lagging. And why not? Look at me and look at the people who are running the country. To them, email is a letter with a big E on it that you send by post. I mean, literally, it's crazy to think about it. I remember reading an article 10 years ago that most members of Congress couldn't send an email. They didn't know how. They had assistants to send emails. I doubt if things have changed because most of those members of Congress are still sitting in Congress 10 years later. And we'll be sitting there until they die. I mean, talk about career politicians. You got politicians sitting 40, 50, 60 years. We didn't have emperors that sat that long on a throne that as an American politician can sit in power. I mean, most emperors around the world never sat a throne nearly as long. Well, maybe Queen Elizabeth there. She sat the throne about as long as an American politician sits a throne. Other than the president, of course, those people change. Not that the people behind them ever change. Those people stay the same, and the families stay the same. But okay, democracy, baby. Sure. Cheers.